ladies are here today. I'm basically here. Thanks for coming out. This is incredible. I'm here to introduce Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah.
So fun. Back in Exeter. Yeah. It is so fun to be here. One, it is 40 degrees warmer than Minnesota yesterday. The second is I'm so excited to be states in the United States of America that has 2 women senators. Minnesota and one is New Hampshire. And not only that, you guys have the second woman in the United States of America that has served as both governor and senator.
Yeah.
The other one being
Jean Sheehy. Okay, I love that because Maggie cares about facts, unlike her opponent. Okay, so this is why it is so important. I think you know it. She's doing well. She's ahead, but we got to turn out the vote. I know a little bit about this. In my first race, it was for county attorney, but the county was about 1 million people. I won by only 9 votes per precinct.
Wow.
And we did like 3,000 lawn signs and 27 parades, and every time I did, I thought if I had done just a little less, if we had just a few less door knockers, we would have made it. So that's why this matters today. This is why else it matters. Maggie is a true leader. She led the way on the surprise medical bill.
Yeah.
Without her, it would not get done. Making sure that we reduce taxes on our Gold Star families, Maggie did that. Okay? Making sure that we take on the pharmaceutical companies to bring down the drug prices. It is not just what she did in public, because I was there in the closed door. Let's just say it's not always easy when you have some people that maybe Maggie stood up as she's done for you as governor, so that's why I'm so excited that you're going to bring her back. Okay, secondly, you got this opponent, right? It is unbelievable to me when I look at this. So, you know, this is a guy, I was thinking today, like Maggie set her clock back in an hour, you know, like you all did. This guy is setting our clock back. He would bring us back to the early 1930s. Why do I know this? Because he actually said on Social Security, oh, well, it's been around since 1935, so it's time for a change. So it is a true fact. He talked about getting rid of Medicare as we know it. He talked about when it came to that important issue of unleashing the power of 50 million seniors to be able to negotiate better prices for Medicare that we finally did with a 20-year ban put in place. This guy said, hell no. That's right. So what we are saying today is hell no to him. Right? 19 years of what he said. So this is what she's up against. Other 2 things I want to mention. Yes, economic freedom is on the ballot. Every country in the world has gone through a hard time post-pandemic. Right. But the question is, who do you trust? Who do you want to stand with you? Do you want something like that guy who's talking about getting rid of Medicare? No, you don't. You want someone like Maggie Hassan. So you got to make that case here. The second thing that matters, and matters big, is the freedom of women to make their own health care decisions. Stood up, and we do not want a patchwork of laws across this country. And our message here is simple. You know how they always say Democratic bumper stickers say one thing and then it says to be continued? And then in this case, our message is very clear. Our message is women have the right to make their own decisions about their health care. One more bumper sticker would be, we don't want Ted Cruz in the waiting room. The third and final thing that is on the ballot is democracy. Democracy is on the ballot. Literally, they have candidates out there, including the guy she's running on, that would throw truth out the window, that would shutter the rule of law, and that are literally dismissing or making fun of political violence. So when I took that walk with Roy Blunt and Mike Pence on the night of that insurrection at 4 in the morning, because of the job I have on the Rules Committee, with the 3 pairs of pages, with the mahogany boxes, with the electoral ballots in it, including New Hampshire's ballot. That morning, that walk had been a big celebration, big excitement. That night, it was so somber. We are walking over broken glass. We have got spray-painted pillars all around us. And we make that walk, and we got to the House of Representatives, and I thought, that's it. Democracy has prevailed. Well, what I didn't know, and that is true, we did our job, we had a beautiful inauguration 2 weeks later, which went great, except that Lady Gaga and I wore the same dress. But it was a beautiful day. No, but do remember that moment where she belted out the Star Spangled Banner and she points to the flag and says, and our flag is still here. New Hampshire is a patriotic state. You have patriotic voters, whether they are Democrats, independents, or some are moderate Republicans, right? So that's what you got to appeal to them in these last few days, because democracy is truly on the ballot, and you have someone that does everything right for your state, that wakes up and goes to bed thinking of your state. You have people like Annie Custer on the ballot. You have people like Chris Pappas, depending on the district, I know. But you've got people that care about your state, and then you've got this woman. So just do it for me.
With Exeter Dems and beyond, it's just really, it's always a homecoming for me. It's particularly great to be with the wonderful Amy Klobuchar. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Amy in a second, but I brought in other reinforcements today. Tom Hassan is here. Maggie's way in the back, but a bunch of you helped raise her, so thank you, because she turned out pretty damn good. Myself. And look, you know, Amy's being here.
There's
Maggie. And look, having Amy Klobuchar here is such, you know, it's great energy and friendship for me, but New Hampshire knows its friends, and Amy Klobuchar always has her sights on how can we practically make a difference in the lives of working people. How can we move this country forward? How can we reach across the aisle to do it? And you know, she talked about my work on the prescription drug bill, but let me be very clear, Amy Klobuchar led that bill, insisted day in and day out that we were going to get this done no matter what else was happening in negotiations. So Amy, thank you for all of that. Amy talked a lot about the stakes here, so I'm just going to touch on a couple of things. One, I want to reinforce to all of you how important what you're doing at the doors is. You all know that in 2016, I won this seat by 1,017 votes, right? 1,017 votes statewide. That's what we call in the business a field margin. That's what happens when people are going out, talking to their friends and neighbors, making the case, reminding them that Tuesday is election day, letting them know that the polls are open for a long, good stretch, letting them know they can register on the same day. So if they haven't been thinking about this, or they thought they were too late, or they moved here a month ago and didn't realize that they could register, this is all really important stuff. And this is one of those elections where so much is at stake. Look, I have been talking to my constituents all over the state about my record of delivering bipartisan results that make a difference for the people of New Hampshire. I have always taken my cue from the people I represent. We put aside differences in New Hampshire all the time to solve problems and get things done. That's who we are. And we know how much progress we can make because we know how much we actually have in common. Standing up to Big Pharma to get finally get prescription drug prices coming down. And if people ask you like when they're going to see the impact of that, in January, people on Medicare who use insulin will see their insulin price capped at $35 a month. I actually just ran into a woman the other evening, and she said, "Oh, my insulin prices are killing me." And I said, "Are you on Medicare?" "Yes." And the palpable relief that she expressed on that was real. So we also stood up to big oil.
Yes.
And we said, hey, we are doing some things right now to help people with their energy prices, but we're also going to transition to a clean energy economy. One, so big oil has competition, right? Finally, we can lower prices by just giving them competition and letting them know we're independent. But also, we have provisions in there right now that will help people lower energy prices in the short term while we transition to a clean energy economy and obviously address the real threat of climate change, the real crisis we are in with climate change. It is like 75 degrees on what's today, November 6th, right? And so, as nice as it is for canvassing, it is a sign here. And then I talk to people a lot about the bipartisan work I've done. The bipartisan infrastructure bill, I helped negotiate that. That's important for a ton of reasons, from clean drinking water, but probably the thing Granite Staters tell me is the most important to them is getting high-speed internet to every single community in the state. That's a game changer. So I was one of the authors of the Chips and Science Act, that bill that is bringing manufacturing back to the United States.
Yes.
Important for so many reasons. One, we should make stuff here. We're really good at it. We're very good at it in New Hampshire, but we want our supply chains back here too.
Yes.
What we learned during the pandemic is when you have to rely on supply chains overseas, all sorts of stuff happens, including inflation. And so we really worked in that bill to make sure we were getting supply chains back here and that we will make semiconductors here again in the United States. We've got a business in Hudson, New Hampshire that is making the precursor to semiconductors because we passed that bill and hiring up people right now. But it's also really important because it'll lower prices. The more semiconductors we have in the world, the lower prices of consumer goods gets, right? So that's another thing just to remind you. And then I want to talk about really two other things that are important to our state. We still are feeling and seeing the devastation of the opioid epidemic every day in New Hampshire.
Oh, thank you.
We've got a lot of work to do. But reaching across the aisle, we were able to secure a 900% increase in funding for opioid prevention, treatment, and recovery.
Oh, that's great.
Right? There is still work to do, and we have to deal with the supply side as well as the demand side, so that's why I keep pushing for more technology and more ways to fight the drug cartels in Mexico and detect fentanyl and other synthetics when they come over the border. But we also have to help people get in recovery and stay in recovery, and that's where that funding comes. And lastly, we are a state that has always very proudly stood by and with our veterans who obviously have done everything to take care of us and keep us free and safe and secure, right? And that's why the Bipartisan PACT Act, which is finally getting a whole new generation of veterans the critical care they need for exposure to toxic substances in the line of service at the VA. So that's another thing to talk to people about, because in New Hampshire, supporting veterans is not a partisan issue. It's a obligation and a duty that we are proud to accept and that unites all of us, right? So those are some of the things we can talk about at the doors. And the contrast, obviously, with my opponent is stark. To be really, really clear, this is somebody who has said that he would eliminate Social Security. And by the way, independent fact checkers have said that that is true. He would eliminate Social Security. He also has, he's the one who famously said when the Dobbs decision came down that New Hampshire women should rejoice. We are not rejoicing, and we're not getting over it.
No way.
No. And,
I guess he persisted.
but and then he has said that gentlemen in the legislature should make this decision for women. So look, this is about a woman's fundamental freedom. Amy talked about him dragging us back to the 1930s. That's really a time when women were still second-class citizens in this country because we didn't have these fundamental rights and these fundamental freedoms. We couldn't make our own plans for the future, and we couldn't decide what was best for our families. Today, we know how important it is that all Americans have opportunity. And when you treat half of the population as second-class citizens, that drags us all backwards. Last thing I want to say about election denial, and then I'm going to wrap up because we want to get to doors, right? Don Bolduc spent over a year going around this state stoking the big lie. In a state that has some of the best run elections in the country, right? Along with Amy's state, Minnesota has really good voter turnout. we are very proud and we compete a little bit. We compete about a few other things too. But look, Don Bolduc stoked the big lie. Then most recently, he is cast out already on 2022's election. He said, you may have heard him in a debate, talking about all sorts of conspiracy theories about our elections.
Nasty.
And then he has said in 2024, if the election doesn't go for his preferred candidate, he will work to overturn it.
Yeah.
Okay? And by the way, should anybody have any doubt about where he is on election denial, Donald Trump endorsed him last week because, as Donald Trump said, he's an election denier. So this is somebody who really is accepting one conspiracy theory after the next, but that's not the most really concerning thing here. It's about the fact that he is an election denier and has this extreme agenda. That's connected, right? When you have an agenda that is so out of step with the people you say you want to represent, eliminating Social Security, right? Enacting a nationwide abortion ban, because he'd be a yes vote for that, that's very clear from his record, right? That's way out of step with where we are in New Hampshire. So now you add election denial to it. And what that really means is that Don Bolduc, because he refuses to accept the results of an election, thinks he doesn't have to listen to granite states, right? That's the connection here. He can impose an extreme agenda on us because he doesn't think he's accountable to us. That's why this election is so, so important. And I know that's why you're all here. I know that you understand that. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart because of the difference that you are making and you will make over the next couple of days. We just got to remind people that when we are together and when we are thinking about our future together and what we have in common, there is nothing that the Granite State in the United States of America can't do. And this is about reminding people that when they vote, they have a voice, and listen to them, and to deliver for them as I do. Again, we will all move forward together. So thanks everybody so much for being fixing my pen. And remember, I see a lot of I see a state senate candidate, a state rep candidate, and another, so just remind people vote up and down the ballot.
Yeah.
Okay?
Gotta get out.
Thank you, Amy.